Okay, let's go over the answers then for MSA 3.5 Part B, and we're going to see how much are Fabian's expenses and income in January if he sells 100 cakes. And then we'll use that to calculate the profit. So compare my answers to what you have, and then feel free to change them if they're incorrect and copy down the work. So I'm using the RSS method to find the expenses and income. So I first recopied the expenses equation, and then I substituted in 100 for n, and then I solved it, and I get that the expenses for January $1,150. Hopefully you got that too. Now let's do the income. So I rewrote the income equation, and then I substituted in 100 for the number of cakes, and now I'm going to solve that, and I get this. So that's $820 was the income he had in January. So that being said, if his expenses are $1,150 and his income is $820, to calculate profit, you always subtract the income minus the expenses, even if the income is less. So I'm going to do the income minus the expenses. That means the profit is negative. So that means he's in debt. He's still in debt $330 by the end of January. So here's a graph to help us see what's happening. And this is not a graph that you need to draw. It's just one that we have here in the video for you. So we're going to use this graph to help us answer this question. How many cakes would Fabian need to sell to make more money than he spends in a month? So he wants to make a profit. He doesn't want to be in debt. We already know that 100 cakes, like in January, he sold 100 cakes. And if I started 100 cakes on my graph here and I go up until I hit this line here, this should be at $820 because it's his income for 100 cakes. So it's about right at $820. Whereas expenses are higher than his income. See how they're higher? And that was $1,150 were his expenses. So his expenses are more than his income. What we want is his income to be more than his expenses. So this point is, we're looking for the break-even point. And it's not going to be an easy to read point. I think you can tell it's not an easy to read point on your graph. But I want you now to make an estimate. What do you think is the number of cakes that Fabian would have to sell so that he would make more money than he actually spends? And there's a place for that on your worksheet. That would be right here under number 3. So you can use this graph that I showed you. It looks like this. And I'll end here so that the graph stays up on the video as you pause the video and answer that question in your paper.